Hey everyone. So again, with the release of the 1.4 preview of ML.NET, we were also given an update to the database loader. And so I figured I'd go over that in this video. So I'm in Visual Studio with the .NET Core console project loaded. And I already have a config file with my connection string to the database I'll be using here. Then I already have the housing data and the housing prediction input and output schema classes. So we're going to be messing with the housing data set with this video. And to look at our data, I'm actually going to look at Azure Data Studio here. And I already have my data preloaded here, so we'll run it real quick. And we have the usual features of the housing data set: latitude, longitude, total rooms, population, and we have the median house value that we'll be predicting here. And real quick, this is how I created the table. I used an identity, and then I have all these columns in here. And you notice all the types on the numerical values are real. We'll get to a point where I'll explain why I used that in just a bit. I'll go back to Visual Studio, and we'll go ahead and get started. First thing, like always, is to get everything from NuGet. First thing is I'm going to get ML.NET. And I'm going to use 1.4 preview. And the database loader is actually in the experimental NuGet package. That's kind of where everything that they're currently working on, they put there first before they move it on to the main ML.NET package. This is the 0.16 preview version. And I'm going to need the SQL client package. Then I also get the configuration packages. I'll get the main one. And then the JSON file. And these are just so I can read in that config file. Alright, and speaking of reading in the config file, I'll just copy this code over where we build a connection, where we build a configuration builder, and we just read from the config file and then get the connection string item from it. For the database loader, we need to specify the columns that are in the database that the loader will be using to read from. And that's going to be a new database loader.column. It's going to be an array of those items. And the new DatabaseLoader.column, and then we'll give it two properties here: the name, and this is going to be the same as the column names in the database, and then a type, and this is going to match up to the database type that the columns are. And we'll use DB type for that. Then I use single for all of our numeric ones. So the first one was longitude, and instead of typing all of those columns out, I'm just going to paste those in here because they're all pretty much the same, because they're all DB type single, except the last one, which is the ocean proximity, which if you look here is a text value. Kind of going back to why this is a real value instead of single or decimal or anything like that. It's because this data type has to match with the data type here, which has to match with the data type in our input schema. Because if not, you're going to get an error saying that the types don't match. All right, with our database loader columns specified, we're going to create a connection, which is going to be a SQL connection. This is from that SQL client package that we used. And there we just pass in our connection string. And from our SQL connection, we use that to help us get a DB provider factory. And we use the get factory method from there, and we pass in the connection. And why do we need that? Well, when we create our loader from the context.data.create database loader, it's going to require our columns, and then we're going to need a database source, which we pass in this factory, then the connection string, and it says command text, and what that is pretty much just the SQL command that the database loader is going to execute in order to bring down our data. So with that, we'll just run select star from our database, and then from there we can just do loader.load, and then we pass in that database source that we just created. So that's pretty much going to load in our data, and to kind of show you that that works, I'll do a data preview on it, and then I'll breakpoint there and I'll run it. There we go, that ran okay. We'll look at the preview. We can look at the row view here and do just, let's see, do row 8, and we can see we get our data here just as we expect. And we do it for another one, and it looks the same, we get our data. And now that we have our data, we can continue on and create our ML.NET pipelines. So from there, do a test train split, context.data, test train split, pass in our data with a test fraction of 20%. And I'm actually going to use some link to get all of our features. So what we do is we're going to get all of these items minus the median house value, because that's what we're going to be predicting. So all these items, instead of typing all those at once, I can just use data.schema, and from there I can use link with the select. In there I can get the name, but we want to exclude a few of them here. I don't want to get where the name is median house value, as well as when it's ocean proximity. And I'll set that to an array, because since we're going to be, we'll do our concatenate later on, we don't need to include the label column, which is the median house value. And then because ocean proximity is a text value, we don't need to include that either, because we're going to do something a little bit different with that. So now we create our pipeline. Context, transforms, text, and featurize our text. We're going to do an output column of text, and this is where we pass in that ocean proximity. Then I'll append on another transform where we concatenate all those features from the features array. And then I'll do another concatenate. Well, I'll add on the text item from up here. And then I'll just append on the trainer that we're going to use, and it's going to be regression, and I'll do the Poisson regression. Now, since we're going to be using median house value, we need to set that as our label column name. First, we'll use the feature column name as features, and then label column name median house value. So there's our pipeline. Now we can use that to fit on our data. Use a test train split that use the test set. And since we have our model, I can create a prediction engine. Create prediction engine, pass in input and then output schemas, and then give it the model. and to kind of give it a bit of a test, and give it a test prediction, or do the prediction engine that predict. I'm going to give it a new housing data object, and I'll just paste this in. It's just some random values that I put in for the features. And then we can write out our prediction, and we get the predicted house value, which is on our output schema there. And I do a console read line. So run this and see what predictions we get. There we go, we got prediction that house with these features, and that's predicted about $260,000. So I just kind of stopped there and mainly just wanted to show y'all how to use this data loader to load data directly from the database. And this is especially helpful so you don't have to write a bunch of ADO.NET code to read from the database when you just specify a few things and let ML.NET do it all for you. So alright everyone, hope y'all enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.